Jess on his right. Hey, hold up, don't start a fight. He's got you covered with all the sports. Don't fret, he's wearing shorts. It's time for Waking Jake in the morning, Waking Jake at night. Jake sucks.
Ooh. Good morning, Bakers. What is going on, everyone? Happy Thursday, December 2nd, the day Major League Baseball died for a brief period of time that everyone thinks will be resolved, which I don't necessarily believe in. We're going to talk about that. The baseball lockout has commenced. Before that, there's good action, especially since Monday, since we were here. There's been some good signings. What were the last?
Like Scherzer wasn't official yet when we went. So since
right,
then,
I think
Robbie
I was
Ray's gone.
I was still peacocking like the Mets are probably gonna Mets this up.
Until it happens, can't trust it to happen.
Don't Mets this up. That's a good phrase. We gotta start doing that more. They have Max Scherzer. They had a lot of fun. Robbie Ray, Show goes at the buzzer last night to the Chicago Cubs. The People's Source popped back for a little bit. Jackie Bradley Jr. returns to Boston. Hunter Renfroe going to Milwaukee. Some fun dynamics there. So we'll go through all the baseball, and we'll do our little NFL week preview. I've been enjoying those. It's good to see when what falls on the calendar. Plan your football weekend a little bit too. I guess the other thing I want to look into, is this a cool NCAA football weekend? Is this the division championship, or is this like the week before that? I'll bring that up quick for the people. Let's see. Oregon, Utah. Yeah, so that's the Pac-12 championship, I'm pretty sure. That's 10 versus 17 in Vegas. That's fun. Baylor, Oklahoma State, 9 versus 5. Georgia, Alabama. Okay.
Oh.
So, yeah, that's what I thought. He's yelling. I got to tell you what. We're back at 5.
This is ridiculous.
What do you think you're going to get, Captain Kangaroo? Michigan plays Iowa. Houston at Cincinnati, who's got a chance to be in the Final Four. Ian Happ's Cincinnati. Pitwake. So, yeah, if you're a college football fan, I think this weekend has an argument for, like, best college football weekend of the year. Like, Georgia, Alabama are probably the two best teams in the country. They'll be playing each other. Little Friday night, Oregon, Utah. Maybe we should check with resident Oregon expert, former roommate Jeff. So it's lining up to be a good sports weekend. I hope whatever. Do I have plans this weekend? I don't think so. Right? I think Saturday, supposed to see people in like the city, but that's a whole thing. I'm already tired thinking about it. And then we slept the whole episode. There's going to be highs and lows today's people. You're going to get fake Mad Dog impressions. You're going to get me ASMR into the mic. That's what we've got. It starts with the baseball lockout. It is official. Last night was the most ridiculous series of events. If you live on Twitter like we do, sometimes... And I guess when I was young, and I still am young to a degree, I look, especially today, clean shave, puka shell necklace.
Looking fresh.
I still think I could be cast as a backup running back in like a next High School Musical.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you. Needed that. The people that run the world are the same people you know. I think it's very rare you come across someone who you're like, whoa, like that guy is crazy intelligent. Like that guy's changing things. Like,
different level.
People are different and people have different personality traits, but like the way things went down last night with these pre-recorded messages from MLB and MLBPA and taking down the players on the website, I get that that's a likeness thing from the contract.
Like they don't have the rights to it anymore, but they still had to, like, prepare for that to go.
Right. Like, how much time went into that to take down player pictures and bios? Like, maybe there's some nerd out there that clicked one button and was good.
I've done that job before.
Just each picture?
Yeah, at least like at colleges and stuff.
And it's some intern who they said, hey, you got to take these down, blah, blah, blah. But then taking down all the player articles off the website. Like, here's what I know. Anything can be negotiated. And if these two sides were kind of being adults at all or humans, like, don't you think they could say, like, hey, how about, this little part in the contract, how about we say in the lockout we don't have to
you can leave the
take down all the player pictures. Like, let's be civilized humans about this. No, and hey, maybe I'm too close to baseball because we never hear about this with basketball. That's everyone loves Adam Silver. This league's doing great. Goodell had the target for a while, but like, was football lockout ever discussed? I'm trying to think.
There was an NFL lockout maybe a decade ago. Like if you Google NFL lockout, one happened. They didn't lose games or anything.
NFL lockout. But
there was one in our lives at least. 2011, 10 years ago.
March 12th to July 25th. So hey, again, as long.
I guess that's essentially the same blueprint,
right? Like
we're trying to do here.
Let's be completely honest with ourselves. If this gets figured out by mid-March, I don't think anyone will end up caring.
Yeah. Mid-March, they need time for a real spring training. I think that would probably shave 10 games off a season.
That's pushing it for the pitchers and everything. I do get that part of it. Although that always blows my mind. Like, pitchers, you could still start throwing.
Yeah, they can ramp themselves up a little bit.
Why do we treat them so differently? Go throw 20 pitches.
I get optimally, yeah, the team knows exactly what you did and had eyes on you.
Pitching coach Storielli here. Throw 20 fastballs one day. Take a day off. Throw 25. Not a pitching coach. Yet. So we will see. We will see how everything develops in the next couple weeks. It's going to be ugly, like I said, but, I mean, it's going to be ugly? I mean, for us that live on Twitter, like, we're just going to see dumb quotes and...
As long as spring training's more or less on time and games don't happen and general people who aren't, like... very online aren't really gonna notice.
Yeah,
and honestly, there's no like trades and.
I guess the one thing
in
the skeptic in me, and I've said this around the office the past couple days. I said it on Talking Baseball, but like, we've heard about this for so long, and we've heard that there's probably going to be a lockout. But nobody's actually scared that they'll lose games. Like, that's been the vibe.
Quotes from both sides seem to sound like they'll ultimately get it done when they have to.
Post-COVID, both sides have been kind of like, yeah, there might be a lockout, but, like, we don't think games will be missed.
I think before that it seemed like it was going to be nasty enough to lose games. I think after that they saw the effect of that a little bit.
Which I'm just interested to see. I don't know. We're not far enough within the walls of baseball to tell you what happens, but the other side of that seems to be coming out is like, yeah, things will get real serious first week of February because, then there'll be more pressure on both sides. I hope that's right.
I think they pretty genuinely won't talk to each other for 6 weeks here. They'll bicker for a couple weeks. Figure it out.
I hope it's right. I mean, we just saw...
They have to do it.
We just saw a flurry of basically free agent signings. because there was a deadline. I guess that's kind of what scares me, because I guess it's the conversation we just had. There is no deadline. Like, March 1st, is a deadline going to get thrown out there, and then what does that do? Is there going to be the players' union says we need a deal by March 10th, otherwise we can't start games on time. It's a player health risk. I guess that's the thing. A deadline does make stuff happen. Marcus Stroman signing last night. Deadline, Cubs met it. Both sides were driven to get that done. We don't currently have that.
And there's it's hard to set a real deadline that means anything. What you just said, it makes the most sense. Like, by this date, we can for sure get games, the season started as normal. But if we already get to a point beyond that, then, like, how do you really set a deadline?
Right. So that's where...
Because then it's just kind of, we're not doing this?
Because players don't have a real debt. Like, if games start April 1st, they don't have 3 weeks and we're perfect. Like, it's kind of the whole concept of spring training. Like, guys kind of go at their own pace. Hitters say they're ready. Pitchers usually say they aren't. I don't know. It's a bummer. I mean, especially with how fun the past week or so has been with everybody signing.
It's been like a fun kind of press for baseball.
I mean, I think it's definitely, it has to be an advocate for, if they figure out the CBA, do some signing periods. Do an early signing period. Like, end the season. World Series champs, the New York Yankees. Wow. What a year. Do your arbitration, contract options, awards. Do an early free agent signing period, whether it's 2 or 3 weeks. And then maybe like December through the first week of January, you can just BS.
Yeah. I guess what stops them from just coming to an agreement and it's not official until, like, they can't sign it till January 15th or
right.
something.
Yeah, you'd have to put rules around it and stuff. But
there's like elements of, like, from a labor standpoint, I don't know how we can justify it, but it's objectively more fun and, like, gets more action going.
Well, it's just the,
there's, like, real reasons for it this time.
The way basketball's set up, the second free agency starts, guys start signing. And it's exciting. Like, that first 24 hours of NBA free agency is kind of like must-watch TV. Football, I don't know about free agency. I guess
they get like their week.
Get a couple.
That, like, and they have cap stuff. I mean, they have like kind of the most ridiculous cap space rules because you just, like, eventually, I think everyone just gets gets it converted to a signing bonus at some point and whatever. But football gets it because they have caps and all that.
Yeah. So, since we last talked, we'll see. I mean, let's be honest. Some of the lockout stuff isn't that fun.
There's certain aspects of it that are more gripping than others.
I do think when we're on Talking Baseball and Trev's talking about the player side, and I'm sure we'll have some guests, and whether it's players or passing or whoever it is, the further you get into the story, the more interesting it is. On the front page, this sport isn't doing anything. Okay, that sucks. But as you keep digging in why, and, when we talked to Passon briefly and he was talking about, they're going to have to figure out how to split gambling money in the next 5 years or however long the CBA is. How the hell do you do that? That's a real-life issue where I mentioned there's a few smart people you come across in your life. The smart people on both sides need to link up and actually figure out how that works. Because I don't have that.
Yeah. Both sides have a couple smarties.
Sure. There are smart people in the world.
Yeah. On top of the, like, how much revenue and whatever, and players need to be paid more. When can they qualify for free agency? There is, like, the real life. Well, gambling's going to be legal very soon, so how are we going to do that? We still don't know, like, I guess everywhere's 100% capacity, so not part of it.
Right.
Just shit.
Now, there is a lot to figure out. It's no joke, but as our guy Jeff Passan also retweeted this morning, he wrote an article 5 years ago that said this was going to be a whole thing, and now we're in it. So we'll keep updated on that. Let's do
the fun end of it, like Universal DH is going to come out of it.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be some sort of new playoff format. Don't know what it's going to be.
That's everyone literally wants to fast forward, whether it's 3 months or whether we do cut into games, because that's, I think, where both sides got more confident a deal being done was COVID and owners losing money, that the players, I think, are feeling better about their chances now. I think the owners also are more driven to get it, but the only thing that actually scares either side is losing games, and that's the players' ammo. So, like, if the owners are thinking that February is just going to come up and the players are going to start getting more serious, like, no, that's their chip. Like, the games are the players' bargaining chip. So that's where things get scary, and I feel like it hasn't really been discussed or thought about for a while. Like, things will be quiet, and we'll hear different rumors, and we'll see Heyman tweet something, and we'll make fun of it. But, once Feb 1 gets here, things are going to get pretty real. I hope I would be on cloud 9 if it got taken care of before then, but I don't see that happening. And yeah, then we'll get, hey, Universal DH. Maybe there'll be rumors about expansion teams and shit. Like, that's...
Yeah. Are we going to have number of pitchers on the roster rules? That's one pass and talk to us about.
Yeah, like, there could be real changes and fun changes.
Are they going to go back to 15-day ILs instead of 10? Because 10 people can manipulate, but 15's longer. But some guys can be back by 50, whatever.
All the service time and all of that. Hopefully we get some...
Like,
maybe it's fun.
It.
Maybe they will make progress as they go, and we'll have updates every 2 weeks. But...
Have you seen the players' first move in all this?
I heard something, but...
Yeah, it seems to be the first, it's a movement within the PA. A lot of the players, I won't say all, but a lot are changing the Twitter profile pictures and stuff to those defaults that they changed on baseball. Like JMO did it, Musgrove did it, and those are the two I saw, and I assume others are doing it. When and where a couple years ago.
Yeah, not to be shots fired back at the players because we're obviously pretty pro player, but that goes back to where I started this of people are people. That doesn't do anything.
Doesn't do anything.
That does nothing. But we
Public opinion.
We are in a high school petty relationship. We just broke up and we took down all the Instagram pictures. That's literally what happened.
Took down the Instagram pictures, trying to get the tweener friends.
We know the pictures are gonna come back. If that's your buddy's girlfriend, not to start hitting on her because they're gonna be dating in another week. So let's do the fun stuff. Let's do some of the actual signings. Let's go down the big board of big signings. Scherzer happened. I mean, if you don't need to hear me talk about it. In a monotone voice, I am happy for Mets fans. That's really cool that Max Scherzer went to the Mets. There's obviously the Yankee side of that is more so why weren't they interested?
Yeah, that's it. We haven't talked about it. Well, I don't talk about it on Talking Yanks, but the part about it that's upsetting isn't because he went to the Mets. It's the whole time I couldn't dream about him coming to the Yankees because he seemed pretty adamant about West Coast.
Yeah.
And then he ends up going to the Mets because they offered the most money, which should be the Yankees' number one advantage over other teams.
Was the Yankees' MO for years. That being said, I think this is actually cool stuff about the Mets, and we'll see what we find out in 3 years and 5 years, Scherzer's performance and how the story develops and Los Mets and all that. But the Mets, I think they played a little chess because with the CBA coming up and Scherzer's involvement in the CBA, I think they pegged hey, if we give him the best offer, I literally don't think he can say no. And I wouldn't be surprised if a retired Max Scherzer in 5 years says that. I did
I
that.
really wanted the Dodgers to just match it.
I did that for the union. You know, I would have loved to take $2 million less, but I don't want to depict him as a martyr. He's getting $43 million to play baseball.
At the end of the day, nobody's going to feel bad for him for taking the most money.
Again, there's this player pride thing in it, and if you hear Trevor ever talk about it, if you hear Ian Happ talk about it, if you hear David Cohn talk about it, there is such a pride there in the brotherhood that, yeah, I mean, Max Scherzer set the bar, and you constantly need to be worried about resetting that bar higher and higher.
If you're a guy that has a chance to advance the movement.
Yeah, like that's people feel that burden. People feel that burden. Good for Mad Max. 43.33 mil per year. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah.
An opt-out and everything. If he thinks he can go grab a 2 for $60 in 2 years.
Maybe he will. I hopped on Shea Station, had some fun with Jolly while Jerry was under the weather. So talked about it there if you want to hear more about a Yankees fan talking about Max Scherzer, I guess.
They're having a blast.
They are. Good for them. Good for them. Happy for you. I think this is something I used to reference on here. I was in a toxic relationship for a little bit. And we used to text each other GFY, GFY, which was good for you, go fuck yourself. Times are different. Dad was young. What else has happened since then? I'm just going to go in order of the biggest contracts. Marcus Stroman signs with the Cubs, 3 for $71. Good for him. Another bet on himself guy. He took the qualifying offer. And we were wondering last year when he took the qualifying offer, if he didn't, what would he have gotten? And I think there's a good example coming up when we talk about Chris Taylor of how that does affect your market. I think Chris Taylor would have gotten more money if that pick wasn't attached. That was something, he wanted to stay in L.A., which is fine. But I do think that's impactful because it's a cost equation for teams. Marcus Stroman, man, that's 23.57 AAV. Good for him.
I think in real life dollars, the first 2 years is the same as the Verlander deal.
Yeah, it's 25 mil per year. So him, Justin Verlander, I mean, we'll see what Justin Verlander's got in the tank, but yeah, there's going to be a couple comparisons there over the next 2 years
because they essentially have the same deal, I guess.
Same contract. Awesome for him. And he goes to the Cubs, which that's fun. Ian Happ, the compound. The Cubs kind of weren't rumored on anything. They obviously sold all the Rizzos, the Schwarbers, the Baez. They moved on, not necessarily sold, but that generation, the team that won the Cubs, the World Series, has pretty much moved on. Bryant.
Hendricks is the only one still there.
Is he the only one that was on that team?
And Contreras was on the roster, but he wasn't like Wilson Contreras then, if I'm remembering right.
And I mean, it makes sense. Like baseball moves. A lot of sports moves quick.
It's been 5 years.
It's been a while, yeah. But obviously kind of like a historic team for everything going on there.
Like entering the off season, like Cubs, there were rumors like, one, there's just a couple guys they traded that they might want to bring back. And in general, like there's guys that, like in the shortstop market, there's rumors they maybe want to be involved because by 3 years from now, they want to be good again.
Right.
So that's a long-term investment. That hadn't been rumored on any of like the pitchers.
I guess that's what...
So that part is surprising. We knew they might want to spend.
It's what's interesting because there's a couple way to skin this cat. Because you're giving Marcus Stroman $25 million a year. And kind of the new thing in baseball is, like, if you're going to spend. Like, don't, if you're in one of your windows, actually hit it. And then we see it on the other side with the Guardians and the other, like, if you're not going to spend, you're not going to spend. Pittsburgh, you know.
If you're going to be not in playoff contention, don't be in contention at all.
So for the Cubs, that one definitely raised an eyebrow because there's a few free agents out there. We'll talk about them. You wonder if the Cubs, when in their heads is it go time? Because, I mean, even if it's next year, then the Stroman signing makes sense, and maybe that's what it is. Because if you look at their lineup, they've got a couple bets in there. Because they had a weird end to last season. Their center fielder who finished last season, Rafael Ortega, 30-year-old lefty, you know, not in a lot of people's books. He went ham in like a little under half a season, 291, 360, 11 homers, 12 steals. Frank Schwindel went nuts. He had a 591 slugging for like 2 months. Wilson Contreras and Ian Happ, you know, arguably the two best hitters on the team. You know, Ian Happ had as bad of a start as he could, and then he had as hot of a finish as he could. Wilson Contreras, you kind of know the story. He's a catcher that actually does hit a bit. Patrick Wisdom put together a 25-homer year. Is that an 8?
I think it's an 8.
And he played around half a season. So if I had to guess, Jason Hayward's still there. They traded for Nick Madrigal.
Yeah, forgot to have him. He's just fun. He's fun.
He's young. He's supposed to have a legendary hit tool. They signed our guy Clint.
They shopped those like that market a little bit. They also got Harold Ramirez.
I guess my question would be, and this is what I would guess, is that next year for them will be like the exploratory year. Like, is Frank Schwindel good? Is Patrick Wisdom good? Nico Horner was a big prospect. He hasn't really played a lot. Former compound guy, Nico Horner. People forget. Nick Madrigal. Like, Nick Madrigal and Nico Horner are both 24.
Yeah.
Are those guys going to be part of your middle infield for the next 6 years, or do you need to figure out another plan?
Figure out if, like, maybe their skill sets are a bit redundant, and maybe you pick which one you want if you want one of them long term.
Or
you like both. They're good defense and being able to put the ball in play, and speed is
like
not something to just get rid of.
These also are like the Chicago Cubs, so they could make moves. And that's the other thing. So they signed Yan Gomes, who Andrew Barber in the chat just mentioned. Chat, I see you, by the way, and I love you all day, every day. So Wilson Contreras, who's been rumored to be traded every year for the past 8 years, you know, talked to Happer a little bit yesterday, Flex. And he, obviously no sources, he's on the Cubs. He's on the Cubs. But, you know, he's excited. Like, they signed Clint Frazier, they signed Stroman.
Guys who can play baseball.
You know, he, and you could say this for any team. I think he kind of mentioned in passing, like, you know, he was kind of like another starting pitcher, and I think you can talk yourself into, like, let's go Cubs. Like, they got Wade Miley, they got Marcus Stroman. Like, those guys had big years last year.
Yeah, one more arm, and you're like, oh, if our lineup clicks, these guys can really pitch.
And Wilson Contreras, we've seen how the catcher's market is valued. If they could get an arm for him, or does that open up another hitter spot? I don't know. I don't know, but if you're a Cubs fan, that's obviously a good sign, because I think Cubs fans were expecting them to not do anything, or kind of do what they did last year when they signed Jock to the 1 year, like, $9 million.
Maybe we'll flip these guys.
We were like, oh, the Cubs. But,
signed them to flip them.
So, yeah, interested to see how much they dance. I saw Jill, who is our resident Cubs expert. She mentioned David Bodie. That's what I'm saying. Like, they have enough guys between, like, David Bodie types and Ortega, Schwindel, Wisdom, Horner, Madrigal. Like, you know, Horner and Madrigal were big prospects, a lot of talent. We'll see if it comes to fruition. You know, Schwindel's 29. Wisdom just turned 30. and they just had their breakout. So yeah, I would assume it's going to be a kind of an experimental, let's find out what we got so we could spend next year and we'll have Stroman already.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Good for the Cubs, good for Stroman.
Certainly on the position player end, it's easy to see a path to that being a good lineup. Pitchers, you'd like one more starter and maybe another bullpen guy to break out or something to be competitive, but
and I think
that lineup can be very easily.
End of the day, I think, any baseball team we talk about, they could also say, let's get another starter.
Yeah.
Let's get another reliever.
More talent's good.
Speaking of, Seattle Mariners signed Robbie Ray. I feel like we didn't talk about this.
Yeah, like even on the emergency episode we did about it.
I guess that's what it was. That day was broken up into 2 days. I actually liked this, I think, more than other people. Robbie Ray won the Cy Young Award last year. He does strike out everybody. He's done that since day one. The control's been an issue. If in theory he's gotten control of that, some terrible wordplay there. Like, Robbie Ray, his AAV is similar to Stroman. It's under Stroman. But it's obviously 5 years. So, like, I guess that's my thing. Kevin Gossman comes out, and he goes 5 for 110 to Toronto. He's in. Robbie Ray's out. Robbie Ray goes to Seattle. I mean, I can't tell you who's going to be better for the next 5 years, Robbie Ray or Kevin Gossman. I think the guy with the higher upside easily is Robbie Ray. I know Gossman's kind of grooving, and pitching's not as easy as, like, he won the Cy Young. He'll be better. Gossman is kind of finding himself more, and I think he has more innings in the tank. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe Gossman's more consistent over the 5 years. Maybe Robbie Ray comes out hot the first 2 and starts fading. Nobody knows. It's free agency.
And I like Robbie Ray's always had the stuff, and it seems like he's figured something out. So,
and man,
no reason to not believe in it at least a little.
Like Seattle, what a weird year last year between their town hall meeting where their GM president guy is just the worst to ever do it, to becoming like the fun team of baseball last year, to now, we kind of wondered, we hoped the Mariners would be the fun team that would be making a move. Is it a Chris Bryant? Is it something else? And we'll see. I mean, this second half of free agency, we'll see if anything happens. They've got a lot of young guys. Do they try to make another trade? Julio Rodriguez, the young outfielder.
You'll see him in May.
He's supposed to be next. Yeah, maybe they'll change the rules and we can see him in April. They definitely won't. But yeah, it's you'd like one more guy in the middle of that lineup that you'd say, like, yes. Like, he's going to...
One more dude that going into this year we believe in.
He's going to hit. He will hit 30 homers and play 140 games. Because right now, their guy, Mitch Haniger, who does deserve more respect, go check out that dude's player page. I think he hit 39 last year. But yeah, as I look at their lineup, nobody else is going to in 20s. And there's a couple guys that, like, J.P. Crawford, Adam Frazier, who they traded for, and I'd like. But, like, that's not a pop guy. Like, that's, in today's baseball, if you have 2-3 guys that aren't going to break double-digit homers, I think your team does start to feel that a little bit.
Kelenic homered at like a 30-homer pace.
Kelenic
and certainly in that end period where he really figured it out.
Yeah, and I guess, maybe I'm jumping too far into the AL West, and Ty France is a nice player. We'll see what he is. Kyle Lewis, going back to that, his Rookie of the Year chase, he didn't really get a season last year. I mean, I don't think he's a pop guy. I think he's a really good baseball player. But yeah, if you could, and I wonder what position would it be. I guess what's jumped out to me is I think they have another outfield spot open. they have guys that were kind of real prospects, like Taylor Trammell. He got traded a couple times. Jake Fraley's 26, Rake Fraley.
He at least seems like an MLB player.
Like, if you gave me, I know Chris Bryant's kind of been rumored up there. I think I'd like that fit. Like, throw him in left field.
And he can play wherever if Julio comes in and establishes himself.
And that's the other thing, and that's the,
Kyle Lewis bounces back, and all of a sudden he'd KB at third.
If you're the Mariners, I hope they become the case study on kind of how to do it, because their bullpen's actually fun. I've got a couple names for you, BBD. So they made the Diego Castillo trade, which that was a whole thing, but his gross is as gross as anyone's. Paul Sewald was incredible last year, and we'll see if he continues that. Drew Steckenrider, he racked up some saves, was good. Ken Giles is on the Seattle Mariners. 100 Miles Giles. Haven't seen him in a little bit, huh? And, they got a kid Munoz out there who was 22 last year. The Mariners are exciting, and we haven't said that a lot. Are they the longest non-playoff thing in sports, right?
I think in all sports.
Like, close to 2 decades.
Yeah, 01.
And think about, okay, I'm not the guy to talk about this, but think about how much Seattle has changed in 2 decades. Like, I'm sure if I was a real person, I would look up some economic stuff and it'd be like, Seattle's grown 30 times since then. And, like, that city is rabid for sports. We see it with the Seahawks. We see it with the soccer team, the Timber.
Yeah.
They have a good time out there. Man, yeah, I guess we got lost up in that crazy day where shit was happening, but that's really cool for Seattle. I can't tell you Robbie Ray's contract's going to be incredible, but, like, I don't know. You got the Cy Young winner.
Got the Cy Young winner, and I play half your games in that ballpark at least.
That's the other thing, and that's
like, yeah, he has the stuff that like homers can happen, but
I guess
ballpark half your games.
That's the Gossman thing. I think home runs have always been a problem for Kevin Gossman, and he was pitching in San Francisco last year, which is a tough place to give up homers. Robbie Ray goes from Toronto, which the stadiums they played at are all big-time homer parks, won the Cy.
Like, their own isn't crazy. But
He goes to Seattle, which is has been like an all-time pitcher park.
Like the rest of that division, like you got the Crawford boxes in Houston, but the rest are at least normal, I think. I don't think any of the others are small in that division.
So I owe a massive apology. Joe Hammond called me out. Seattle is the Sounders. Portland are the Timbers. That's their rival. So that's, like, fucked up by me. That's so fucking... I can't believe I did that.
Out of every 5 of them are new.
God damn it. Cancel the show.
I had a really cool job that I loved.
Chris Taylor resigns with the Dodgers. Kind of makes sense when you do pick attached. They lost Seager.
I forgot about the pick attached so much when we were talking about him just in the office yesterday.
So the contract leaked out, and it's 4 for $60?
In a fifth year
option on it.
I forget where it gets to. I think it's like less than the other years.
But yeah, I think less teams were in on the bidding war because that pick was attached to him, and negotiating tactic number 1, Chris Taylor wanted to stay in L.A., and I think teams kind of knew that. So when the numbers came out, I know Joe's McFly, Yankee fans in general were kind of like, that feels like a guy we should have been in on.
That feels like the guy, if you're one of the fans, it's like no 10-year contracts or whatever. He's the guy who wasn't going to get that.
That seems like a solution, yeah.
Like even Story's probably going to get 6 years at least. He's got to get at least Tavi.
I think Story's gonna do really well.
I hope so.
I hope so. He likes us, which is cool.
We liked him a lot.
Bring us to dinner. Reisel resigned with LA, 4 years, 58. I guess that's one of the things that when you see that Chris Taylor for the next 4 years is getting $2 million more than Reisel, who's nasty. But Chris Taylor could play every day at like every position. Like I'll
Made the All-Star game last year.
give me that.
Give me that.
Now we're just
I'm going to eat the whole thing.
now we're just falling off our rockers. What else happened in the past couple days? Any big ones, BBD? I don't think
Mets
so,
didn't do
right?
anything new. Cobber went.
Cobb, a lot of the analytics people were in on him. He goes to San Francisco, which, yeah, I mean, I'd buy some Alex Cobb stuff. I think there's numbers there. I think the Giants coaching staff, I think pitching in San Francisco. Yeah, I think that adds up. And, yeah, as we go on this offseason, we'll be talking to you guys here, talking baseball, kind of what's left of the free agent pool. The trade market hasn't started. Baseball.
Well, your Red Sox.
Yeah, my Red Sox, they signed Paxton. They traded for JBJ last night. Sources, talking to him. So I don't know. I'm ready to move on to football. Baseball.
Dylan Bundy went to the Twins yesterday.
Did see that. That's so Twins.
Hector Neris to Houston. We just kind of haven't talked about anywhere, but there's also kind of nothing to say.
Yeah.
Been like a solid reliever.
Solid reliever. You'd bet on Houston over Philly. Let's do a little foosball quick because I already teed it up for you guys that there's good college football. Friday night, Oregon, Utah. Baylor, Oklahoma State, noon on Saturday. Georgia, Alabama, 4 p.m. on Saturday. That's kind of a must-watch. Like Georgia, Alabama, 4 p.m. Michigan plays Iowa at night, 8 p.m. If you're college football, like, enjoy that. Give me that. The league, the NIFL, as they call it. Rich Hill went to Boston. You're right, Sebastian. Rich Hill, Paxton, and Waka walk into a bar. So, Saturday, if you're free, watch some college football. Tonight, Dallas plays New Orleans. Hey, baseball's in a lockout, so I can't tell you to refresh Twitter and look for the signings. I think Kamara's out, so that's kind of a bummer. I think Taysom Hill's supposed to play, though. I feel like that's a conversation we have every week. Dallas really needs a win. New Orleans has been floundering. Maybe it becomes a good game to watch. It could also not. Very easily. Waka, waka, waka. Sunday, excuse me. What can I tee up for you guys? The 1 o'clock games. Tampa at Atlanta, no. Sorry. Arizona at Chicago. Kyler Murray and Hopkins are supposed to come back in Chicago. Might be a good test to see where Arizona's really at. We've kind of ignored that they're a 9-2 football team. Like, that's crazy. Talked to Tuck a little bit last night. He was hyping his Cardinals hard. He runs hard for his city. Shout out Phoenix. Chargers, Bengals. Okay. That should be good. That's, we found one, BBD. Chargers, Bengals. I know that doesn't seem sexy, but I think this is, two guys that are going to be in the league, like, for 12 years. Like, Burrow and Herbert can kind of suck butt, but they're going to be in the league for a decade. Because they're talented.
Stick around.
And, after the top 25 quarterbacks. Justin Herbert could be, if Justin Herbert went to shit, which I don't think he is, I think he's good, but he would still be like a great backup quarterback for a decade. Charger fans so mad at me right now, and they should. I think that's going to be more of a like, these young quarterbacks are matching up, and how many times are they going to match up going forward?
That's pretty much exactly what I was about to say. Like, in 6 years, you can pretty easily see. This was the first of, 5 times. Burrow and Herbert, have split the first 6 games they've played against each other.
Yeah, I don't mean this as actual player comps, and I'm sure Herbert's going to hear it forever. But, this almost feels like a young Phillip Rivers Big Ben game or a young Phillip Rivers Eli. Like, oh, yeah, we are. Let's see what happens, because I think, these guys are probably going to match up for the next, 15 years or so. On different teams in different cities. So that's fun, and it should be a shootout. And again, knowing football, we could tune into that, and it could be 6-3 at halftime. Vikings at the Lions. Don't. Giants at Miami. Giants coming off a win. Dolphins have been playing a better brand of
I
football.
have bad news for you on this matchup.
Is Danny not playing?
He's out, yeah.
So it's neck guy or the other guy? Glennon. Glennon's starting.
Yeah, they said he's expected to start.
I'm so pissed.
They brought in Fromm, I think.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I picked up last week. I had the option. I was going to stream a fantasy football defense, and I was like, all right. It was Miami versus the Jets. Is that who played last week? And I was like, you know what?
I think so.
I think the Jets, I'm starting to respect Tua more, but I could see the Jets having a pick six or something like that. I think they got the higher potential. I'll go Jets. They did nothing. Miami racked up a ton of points. Panthers, excuse me. That's what it was. Cam was back, and I had a healthy McCaffrey.
The Panthers have been a solid defense.
So I let my bias kick in where I was like, well, McCaffrey, he'll run all over. Panthers, if they're up, Tua could throw a pick six or something. Now Miami gets the Giants with a backup quarterback. If I had Miami's defense last week, I would have won. Nobody gives a shit. And now they're hosting Glennon. God, that's tough. Jets, Philly at the Jets. Nope, I'm good on that. Good on that. Man, Hurts and I guess here's what I'll say when we talk young quarterbacks in the NFL. Herbert and Burrow, those guys are going to be on an NFL field or a sideline for the next decade. Hurts and Wilson, I don't know.
Just can't make that promise.
I don't know.
I think Hurts can at least be a backup.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think he could be a solid starter too. But it's just
I've liked what I've seen of him.
It's the fun young quarterback game that we don't really know. That game could be good or absolute shit. Colts, Houston, nope, don't care. Even football team at Vegas. This starts the 4:00 slate. Not super dialed for that. Actually, Washington's got some momentum. I think they're a game under 500. They could get to 500. Vegas is a game over, and they just beat the Cowboys on Thanksgiving. So
Washington's capable of playing a nice brand of football.
Washington's playing better, too. Their defense that was supposed to be good sucked ass. They're playing better. Heineke is a fun watch. He wears number 4. Brett Favre was his idol. He plays like that. So I don't know if it's conducive for winning, but it's fun. Actually, Washington at
when you're
Vegas.
trying to do Brett Favre stuff and you're not Brett Favre, it's tougher, but he's fun.
Washington at Vegas. That could be a good watch. Jacksonville at the Rams, no. Baltimore at Pittsburgh, yes and no. This is going to be Pittsburgh's. Pittsburgh's 5-5-1. Big Ben looked as bad as he could last week. They tied the Lions, lost to the Chargers, lost to the Bengals. This is kind of the Steelers' last chance to salvage something. And by the way, the Ravens have been the best team in the AFC. So, but AFC North football, if you believe in something. Niners, Seahawks. I think the Seahawks stink. And Niners, they've got some good juju, huh? 6-5. Could they get to 7-5? Or it would be a little bit of this Niners team to drop one. And then the night game, my Broncos at the Chiefs. Chiefs coming off their bye week. My Broncos playing a decent brand of football. They are 6-5. And yeah, let's be honest there. What Chiefs are we getting? Is it the 4 wins in a row? It's starting to click for them. They're going to be the Chiefs. Or Denver's defense, man. I believe in Denver's defense and Vic Fangio. So, if they have a lead, they're kind of a scary football team. They also run the ball really well. Melvin Gordon, Williams, the other kid. So if the Broncos can go up, that can be a ball game. But the Broncos just aren't a down 10 football team. Sorry, Teddy. New England at Buffalo Monday night. The battle for the AFC East, right?
That's fun. Winner be
in Buffalo. That'll be a shit
Winner will
show.
be in first at the end of the day.
Buffalo's
I
been
assume.
struggling. So let's see. So you have a big college football Saturday. It's Sunday. If you find yourself some Bengals-Chargers, again, it's kind of a weird one. Shouldn't really juice you up. Afternoon slate, football team Raiders. Let's hope Ravens and Pittsburgh. So know what we talked about. Burrow and Herbert. We'll be seeing those guys rant sporadically for the next decade and a half. Maybe if Big Ben could find something, and this is like Big Ben and Lamar, tee it up one more time. They play the last week of the season too, so Big Ben and Lamar, tee it up 2 more times. But yeah, after watching Big Ben last week, my God, that was. I was gonna say macaroni in a pot, but that's just WAP.
That Monday night game does seem like the best game of the week. They scheduled it right.
That should be the squeeze, yeah. And I hope my Broncos can make the other night game a good one.
If they go up early, like you said, you won't be able to unclench all game. But
won 3 of their last 4. We'll see. What do the Broncos got left? Broncos at Chiefs, so that's tough. It's in Arrowhead. I'm not going to get excited. Steal a game. Lions, win that. Bengals, Raiders, Chargers, if you can get 1 or 2 out of 3, yeah.
You get 2 out of 3 there.
Come on, horsies. 3rd in points against. Their defense is pretty real.
They can pretty easily be at least alive for that last week.
At least alive.
They're playing better.
Just like you guys. They are, and it was actually they're fun to watch. I thought they wouldn't be. The Broncos are fun to watch. Good running game. Skill guys. Bakers, big ep last week. MLB free agency frenzy was going on. Thank you. I always ask you guys to bake the algorithm. Also, this was my engagement reveal, so a lot of congratulations. I appreciate you for that. Tom Ace. My guy, Jimmy, Rich, Travis, Jeff, R.A., Matthew Nauer asked, what's your guys' Spotify Wrapped? Have you posted yours yet, BBD?
I posted stuff, but I also just
Miley?
tweeted what Kanye was number 1. Miley slipped to 3 this year.
Damn.
And I forget. Oh, Machine Gun Kelly was somehow number 2. I listened to one album a lot.
Wow. How about MGK? So, yeah, a lot of kind words in the comments. And then the sports comment in there, I mentioned this. I know no one cares about your fantasy team. Connor Green, Dalvin Cook, and Debo. Yeah, that was it was either back-to-back plays or like 3 plays. But
Back-to-back, like, possession.
Dalvin, fumble, turnover, like broken bicep shoulder. Although it says he's going to try to come back this year. We'll see. And then Debo, again, first or second play, just gets popped. Out for the game. He's out like 2 weeks, I think. So, thank you guys for commenting that. Again, leave your sports comments. Give me some free agent juice. Like who's left over that you got a hunch where they're going. Give me something like that. Otherwise, keep baking the algorithm. We're at 4.72 subs, real close to 5. Show some skin for 5. And thank you guys. Thank you. Baseball literally officially out, but we like talking about the other stuff here too. So let's do it. Thank you guys. Bro of the night. I know BBD's giving it to Manfred. Let's see. Giannis, Renfro, JBJ, Jeff Passan. None of those guys. I don't know. Anyone in your heart you want to talk about, BBD?
I think I found the guy.
Okay.
We're going to go to the team that is right now the consensus best team in the NBA, the Golden State Warriors. And I'm going to give it to Jordan Poole.
Okay.
Really coming into his own. He was the 28th pick in the 2019 draft. He's like scoring this year. Had 28 points at Phoenix. Warriors lost the game, but 28 points at Phoenix. Those two teams have the same record now, 18-3, or at least after that game they did. He has a 33-point game the week before that, but he's averaging almost 20 points a game this year. 18.5 points a game this year, which is like
for the Warriors.
For the Warriors, a good team. I think he's starting.
That's pretty good.
He's a real guy. I guess Clay's gonna be back soon, and that'll change things. Wonder what the hell that's gonna be.
Yeah, that's kind of the NBA story right now. Is the Suns probably right now? They just had an undefeated November, so they will get my bro of the night, and partially Cole Tucker because he likes them. But yeah, the Suns had an undefeated November. That's pretty cool. And by the way, they went to the NBA Finals last year. Like, they're nasty. I also think a big weakness for them was they didn't have a backup big man last year. They have that now. Basically, the whole question right now in the West is Clay's going to come back at some point. What does he look like? I think Wiseman hasn't come back for the Golden State, who, would be a bit role player for them, but could also be a extremely skilled defensive and offensive big man. So that's kind of the story in the NBA right now. But hey, Phoenix Suns, perfect month. How far have we come from
no joke.
How far have we come from like Devin Booker? That guy doesn't even care. So funny.
And they were one of the long playoff drought teams and all that.
Yeah.
They had that your Hornacek and the three guards, and they won 50 games but didn't make the playoffs, or 47 games and didn't make the playoffs. But they were kind of a joke for a while. They're very, very, very real.
And now they're good. Chris Paul.
They had the benefit of not being the Kings or Knicks.
Yeah.
But
the Kings, man. Ugh. Javi Baez to Detroit reported here first. People, thank you. We will be back here on Monday. Doubt there will be baseball news. Maybe next week we'll map out a rest of free agency type draft or something like that. Let's bring back Foolish. You guys love him. Nightmare. But yeah, we'll be back on Monday. We'll do some of the football stuff. Maybe midweek we'll do a draft type episode. Meanwhile, in JOMBOY Media Network, Chris Rose rotation. I'm excited to listen to that because Lucas Giolito and Tyler Glass now talk about the opportunity to be short.
Good app.
Insulting.
It's the 20-minute reaction to Scherzer that Trevor May put out.
Yeah. Sequence, Trevor Plouffe, J&J TV. We're always playing, watching, or dancing. A great JJR yesterday. Must listen. Compound, talking Yanks, talking baseball. And, little teaser, we're about to record something pretty cool.
Towing the slab.
Towing the slab. Cy Young winner. Robbie Ray. Corbin Burns.
And both.
Both.
Double.